Sure. Happy with the way our team responded. As I said after the game Saturday, it was a good team win for us with all three phases contributing to the win. I like the way our team responded. Obviously, coming off of two tough losses the previous couple of weeks, it was good to be able to reward our guys for the hard work that they put in. It doesn't matter who you play in the Big Ten. To get a road win is always a good thing, and going up to Rutgers and being able to come away with the win on the road was good for our team. And now we have the challenge of going on the road again to play a Purdue team that, much like us, has been battling injuries, but they continue to play really, really hard. And so, again, we expect to get their best today, or get their best this week, and we're looking forward to the challenge. Piggy will be our starting quarterback. Josh is on a day-to-day basis. We can't rule him out just yet. He has a mid-foot and high ankle, which it basically will be based off of how he feels. So going into this game, we expect Piggy to be our starter. If Josh is available, this could change as we get closer to game time. But with that, the battle between those two in summer camp was a close battle, and we've got a lot of confidence in both those guys. We've got a lot of confidence in Piggy and his ability to come in and perform and run our offense. His teammates have confidence in him, and I know as a coaching staff we do. And then lastly, our game captains for this week will be Shaq, Ellis McKinney, and Kieron Howard. They will serve as our game captains for the Purdue game. And with that, I'll open it up.
Yeah, Coach, when you make a kind of a quarterback switch, everything stays the same, or do you adjust those calls for Piggy because he has different assets than his game versus Josh?
Obviously, you will definitely call the game for what your strengths of your quarterbacks are. I think both those guys' strengths are very similar. I think Piggy does add a different element because of his ability to make plays with his feet, but the way our system operates, whether it's the RPO system, whether it's the zone read stuff that we can do with both those guys, we have a similar menu of plays that we call for both. I think with Piggy, he adds the element of, in the passing game, when things break down, you probably won't see him take as many sacks because of his ability to take off with the ball if it is a passing situation. But I don't see us having to be different with how we call it in terms of the schemes we use, but we'll call it toward the strengths of whichever quarterback plays for us.
Coach, every Saturday you're looking to progress and things of those lines. Last Saturday, what sort of winning plays, what sort of winning moments can you really take away as you guys move forward and build upon?
Well, I think the big thing is when you look at across the board and you start seeing a bunch of freshmen playing for us. We started a redshirt freshman tackle in Spencer Anderson, redshirt guard, and Austin Fontaine. DeAndre Banks played a ton of plays for us. Levante Gator played a ton of plays for us last week. So the development of our experience in a game like last week is something that I think will benefit us down the road. With the injuries we've had up front, losing 3 starters, with our center in the right side of our line, seeing those other guys come in, Austin and Spencer, and then Ellis be able to go inside and play center. The way they took the adjustments, because when we went into this game, who we saw Rutgers to be on film was not necessarily with how they played. And so with a young offensive line, I was pleased with how they took some of the adjustments we had to make on the fly. And so, those are some of the things I thought we tackled better in this game compared to the previous game. And again, those are the things that you do. We didn't turn it over. We didn't beat ourselves. I still think the penalty bug was a little heavier than I'd like it to be. We had a few more, we're less than what we've had the last 2 games, but still too many penalties, which are unforced errors, and we'll continue to work to clean that up.
Hey, Mike. In terms of Piggy, what you saw of him in the second half, I know you said that you would have liked to have ended the game a little better. Right. But in terms of him getting the ball out quickly, he seems that seems to have been a big area where maybe you were not as happy with Josh, earlier in the season getting the ball out quick. Is that something that Pig brings to the offense in terms of maybe, being as decisive as we've seen him?
Yeah, Josh is a really good decision maker, and so I thought the first few games of the year, Josh made fast decisions. Obviously, as we took on some of the injuries up front, those things, those affect your quarterback up front and how quickly. And I thought, again, the discipline of keeping your eyes down the field on your reads and not necessarily looking at the rush maybe affected Josh more than necessarily him being slow with getting the ball out. But I think Piggy has a really good grasp of what we're asking him to do. Again, he brings a little different element in that little twitcher as a guy back there as the thrower. The ball does come out a little quicker in terms of the release. But I thought both those guys, like I said, they had a great battle this summer. I think Piggy's really improved the area where he had his weakest strengths, which to me would have been throwing the football. And I've seen great improvement from Piggy being able to throw the ball. And we saw some of that, which at the end of the game, which is kind of why we continue to call it that way, because we had to get some meaningful reps and the experience of running our system, throughout the course of the game, even though the game maybe had been a little more in the bank per se.
When you've talked about how this offense has been more big little than you would like, what do you need to see execution-wise to kind of minimize the amount of little that you're seeing?
I mean, just efficiency on first down. Early in the year, we were gaining 4 more on first down, staying on track, and that's the key to it. When you have negative plays or you don't gain yardage on first down, puts you at a disadvantage with your second down calls sometimes, and then if you're inefficient there, then the third and longs are really hard to manage. And so for us, our first down efficiency needs to get back to where it was earlier in the year. And again, we can help that with somehow we call it. But the execution up front, blocking, the perimeter, all those little things really show up on first down. So we just got to get a little better on first down.
Ace mentioned that a big thing he worked on in the offseason was improving, his reads of offenses and just kind of a mental aspect of the game. What kind of work did you see him put in the offseason, to do that?
Well, I think the big thing is knowing what your weaknesses are. And, that's the way our program is set up, at least 2 to 3 times a year. We meet with each player individually and we go over their strengths, their weaknesses, and things we want to see them improve on. So for us and Piggy was his ability to throw the football. We all know he has the ability to take the ball and run with it, and he's made a lot of plays around here doing that. But I think creating himself to be a little more versatile in terms of throwing the ball. He throws a great deep ball. I think some of the intermediate stuff is where I've seen his biggest improvement, as well as just decision-making in terms of reading his keys, and then the RPO stuff that we do is really important that your quarterback is disciplined with his eyes and where his eyes are to be able to get the ball to the right spots.
Coach, can you talk about the development of your inside linebackers, specifically Ely and Campbell, and their growth and what they've brought to the program so far?
Yeah, we feel like we've got 3 starters in there because you throw Isaiah Davis, who's played a lot of football and is a starter there next to Ace, and the way Chance Campbell has continued to come on, we feel good about it, that position. I mean, when you look at, Chance and Ace, they both are really long, physical guys that can run inside out to the ball. We saw Ace and his ability in the interceptions. He's forced a fumble. He 12 tackles. He really played probably his best game thus far. And again, we've seen Chance make some plays for us as well. So the development of those 2 guys and knowing that they're young football players in our program leads me to believe that we're in pretty good position there at the inside linebacker position because of the way they are able to make plays.
Coach, with Rondell Moore being out with injuries still.
Is he out?
Well, he's still dealing with injuries. Who are some of the Purdue playmakers that catch your eye on film, and what are you looking for them to do on Saturday?
I mean, number 3, Bell, their receiver, is a big, long receiver that's made plays. They use number 33 a lot like we use a Jake Funk, a real workman-like, tough guy that they try to find ways to get him the ball. Obviously the quarterback, they're well coached. Coach Brom does a great job in developing quarterbacks. So, I know they put an "or" next to the quarterbacks, but I do know this, and Brom worked for Coach Zook at Illinois, and we know the background of them, that both whoever plays quarterback will be well coached for them on that side of the ball. So, our key is obviously, much like us, they've got some injuries and things going on up front, and they haven't necessarily been able to run the ball as well as I know that Coach Braun would like to when you study them, and we are very similar in where we are on that side of the ball with the offensive line. So, again, it's going to come down to being able to handle the trenches, not allow them to get the running game going. But because of their ability to throw the ball, we've got to do a great job of staying in coverage. We like to play man coverage. We like to pressure the quarterback. And, one of the things when you watch them on tape that they do a really good job of are the back shoulder throws, which versus man coverage are one of the toughest throws to defend. So we've got to work our tails off this week to defend the back shoulder throws that obviously those quarterbacks, being well coached, have the ability to make.
I wasn't here right at the start. Is Josh the only injury from Saturday?
Yeah, and Josh is day to day. I mean,
Okay.
because we've done all the research in terms of he's had MRI, he's had X-rays, and it's basically a midfoot and high ankle. So it's just a matter of how quickly the thing can calm down for him and see where he is. So he'll be a day to day guy, which allows obviously Piggy to be the guy that takes the snaps with the ones for us, and we'll find out more or less as we move further into the week.
And Tyler DeSue would be the
backup. Yeah.
And just to follow up on injuries, in terms of when you're trying to, with a developmental program, as you call this, how hard is it to build confidence and build what you want from the team, especially when you have such key injuries on the offensive line? And how do you, as a coach, sort of approach every week? I know it's, you talk about next man up, but when you have such young guys who are the next men up, it may obviously makes it tougher.
It does, but that's why we get paid to coach, to find ways to create opportunities for you to move the ball. I've been around here for a lot of injuries where we've had to play with a linebacker at quarterback for 7 games. So you get creative. Our coaching staff does a good job of knowing what we can do well and identifying that. Again, it goes back to making sure that your best players are touching the ball as much as you can, and you try to limit the exposure you give the areas of weakness you have. So that's what the game planning is all about, and we try to game plan around some of the youth and some of the injury things that we have going on and not ask those guys to do things that they're not capable of doing just yet. It's hard to do, obviously, when you're playing good teams, and we were fortunate this weekend that we were able to make some adjustments, and it was a tough game early versus Rutgers, and then once we made some of the adjustments to be able to run the ball and get Anthony off and get him a few carries, some big plays along with Javon Leak, I think that really helped us. And to me, our focus when we game plan is to find ways to get our best players the ball without necessarily putting our deficiencies or when we're young or inexperienced in the way of putting them in bad positions.
Kind of going off that, but in college football, we've seen so many quarterbacks transfer when they don't have playing time or aren't the starter. For Piggy to stay and for you to be in the spot you are now, how important is it to you to develop that backup position, and for him or whoever it is to buy into kind of what that role is?
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the pleasant surprises, and I've been fortunate to be a part of this and see the unselfishness that the backup quarterback has, because those guys want the opportunity to play, and unlike certain positions, it's hard to play 2 at 1. But and I can't say that there aren't times where I know the backup quarterback and Piggy wouldn't be disappointed in not having opportunities. But one of the things we've always tried to do was to prepare him mentally that you have to be ready when your opportunity comes, and you never know when that is. And that's where I think we've seen Piggy's maturation in terms of preparing as if he's going to play, preparing as if he's a starter, and not necessarily wallowing in that I'm the backup or looking at himself as a backup, because as I said, it was a really tight battle, and it came down to the guy that gave us the best chance to score points and take care of the football, and it was really close. And so we've prepared Piggy each week as if he's going to play. We've always had packages of things we wanted to do with him, and now with Josh's injury, he'll have an opportunity to go play and hopefully take advantage of the opportunity that he'll have.
Given his experience, how vital is Antoine to this defense, and as well as the fact that what does it say about him that almost all his tackles this year have been solo tackles as opposed to getting help from other people.
Yeah, I also think that when you look at the tackles and when you see a safety lead in tackles, you kind of think, well, man, they're getting a lot of big plays, but a lot of his tackles take place around the line of scrimmage. And, you know, we utilize our playmakers, and I think Coach Hoke and the defensive staff have done a great job of doing things that Antoine's capable of executing, and whether it's rushing the quarterback, whether it's dropping down in the box to be the extra defender, and because of his ability as a tackler, and he's an effort guy, a lot of his effort, a lot of his tackles are from sideline to sideline, him chasing the ball down. We've even put him in man coverage situations where he's done a really good job covering slots and tight ends, and I think it speaks volumes to his skill set. You know, when you look at him out of high school, he was a quarterback that always had his hand on the ball, and he's a guy that's always around the football for us on defense, has a great knowledge and understanding of what we're asking our defensive guys to do. And I think the biggest asset of him is his leadership. And he doesn't do it with a whole bunch of talking. He's not a guy that stands up in meetings and talks, but he plays hurt. He plays reckless with his body. I mean, he's banged up after every game, and he comes up and hasn't missed a day of practice yet. And so, to me, that speaks volumes to the character that he has as well as the leadership. All right.